Right, bore da to you all and welcome to my assembly. Um, we've taken assembly out on tour again. Can you try and decipher or decide where I'm taking assembly from today? So behind me, I've got a Black Lives Matter display. Lots of work going on there. So what are you thinking? Perhaps where am I? I'm sure many of you have worked it out that this afternoon I am in year six getting the assembly ready for tomorrow. So here we go. Today's story is about being helpful, and the story is called Too Helpful Arman. And we're going to hear a story today about somebody who tries to help but doesn't always get it right. Before we start, I did want to say a massive well done to those of you who've been engaging with the home learning. And in fact, some of you have been so good at it that your parents have had personal texts from me. So if your parents have had a personal text saying, well done for all of the home learning, you know you were doing amazingly at the moment. So I'm sure your parents or whoever looks after you will have given you a special well done as well when they've received a text from me. Isn't it nice to get a text home from the head teacher to say how well you're doing? So well done to you all. But this morning's story, Too Helpful Arman. And I want you to think how you are helpful in school, how you've been helpful at home, and sometimes how you may try too hard to be helpful and it can lead to problems, which it does in today's story. So we'll find out about it. Now, I want you all to try really hard to be helpful children this week, explained Mrs. Jones, the head teacher. There might be a special reward at the end of the week for someone who has been particularly helpful. Arman had listened intently to the school assembly. He had never really gone out of his way to be particularly helpful, but he had made up his mind to make a real effort, especially if there was a chance of a special reward. The problem was, where could he begin? The first opportunity came at the end of assembly. Someone always held the hall door open so that the children could walk back to class in an orderly manner. Arman took his chance. He pushed his way from his place in the middle of the line and barged towards the hall door, knocking over Hallie in his haste to reach the front. An angry voice boomed out from the front of the hall. I saw that, Arman. What on earth do you think you are doing? Arman froze to the spot and then turned slowly to meet Mrs. Jones's glare. Just when I'm asking everyone to be helpful, you won't go and cause chaos in the line. You'd better wait at the back of the hall, Arman. You can be the last one out this morning. Not a good start. Arman would have to be really helpful for the rest of the week if he was going to get that reward. Later that morning, as the children were going outside for playtime, Arman's teacher told him, or made him, open the classroom door. As you were so eager to help, said Mrs. Hesketh, you can be the last out to play. Arman wasn't pleased. He liked playtimes and he was keen to play football with his classmates. The room was nearly empty when Arman spotted Hallie right at the back of the line. Annoying girl, thought Arman. If she hadn't fallen over in the hall, I wouldn't have got into trouble. Just as Hallie was about to leave the room, Arman let go of the door and it swung back and hit Hallie in the face. She let out a shriek of pain and immediately burst into tears. Arman, how could you? Mrs. Hesketh was not pleased. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Hesketh, lied Arman. It was an accident. The door handle slipped out of my grasp. I hope that's the truth, Arman, said Mrs. Hesketh, putting a comforting arm around Hallie. You'd better disappear outside before you cause any more trouble. Arman was first into the classroom after lunch. He looked around to see if there was any way in which he could be helpful. Two huge piles of books were stacked at the front of Mrs. Hesketh's desk. They were obviously ready to give out to the children. Well, Arman knew where everyone sat. He may as well save the teacher a job. Armand grabbed hold of the first pile and began to give them out. The other children were just coming in as Armand finished the second pile. There was chaos. "This isn't my book," protested Harley. Her nose was bruised and swollen. "And this isn't mine," said her friend Sarah. "They're all wrong," joined in Dawood. "Somebody's mixed them all up." Mrs. Hesketh entered the room and stared in horror. "What on earth is going on?" she shouted in dismay. "And who all gave out the exercise books? I spent ages this lunchtime collecting them from your desks." Armand gulped and raised his hand slowly. "I was only trying to be helpful," he stammered. "Sorry, Mrs. Hesketh." Armand wasn't very good at cleaning the paint pots. He was always in too much of a hurry. He much preferred to be outside playing football. He was surprised, therefore, when Mrs. Hesketh chose him for the job the following lunchtime. "She obviously thinks I'm really helpful," thought Armand, and he turned on the tap in the classroom sink and watched as a gush of dark blue paint spilled from the first of the pots. "I'm not putting my fingers in there. It's disgusting." Armand grabbed a paintbrush with a large wooden handle and wiggled it about a bit in the pot. The paint was still caked on the bottom of the pot when Armand took it out and turned it upside down on the draining board. "It's good enough," he thought. "She's only going to fill it up again." He repeated the process with the rest of the pots until he had reached the last container. By now the sink was filled with a dark grey sludge as all the paint congealed at the bottom. "I think Mrs. Hesketh will be pleased with this job," muttered Armand. "I must say I've been very helpful." He grabbed a paper towel, dried his hands and made his way out of the classroom. Unfortunately, he had forgotten to turn off the tap, and the sink was so full of sludge that it began filling rapidly. Within seconds, the filthy liquid was pouring over the top of the sink and flowing onto the classroom floor. Armand whistled to himself as he skipped along the corridor, completely unaware of the disgusting flood that was beginning to engulf the classroom. "I don't believe it," stormed Mrs. Hesketh as she confronted Armand in the head teacher's office 10 minutes later. Mrs. Jones was sitting at her desk looking angry. "I deliberately gave you a chance to prove yourself, Armand. I can't believe you've let me down so badly." Armand opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. "Don't even try to make an excuse," stormed Mrs. Hesketh. "Now I want you to help me one more time by promising me something." Armand's face brightened in a moment of hope. "I wonder, what do you think she's going to ask him to promise?" "Whatever else you do for the rest of the week, Armand, don't try to be helpful. Do you understand? Do not try to be helpful." So he was too helpful. We know it's important to be helpful, but sometimes you can be a little bit over helpful and do things the wrong way, not follow instructions. And I don't think he was really being particularly helpful anyway, because he was only doing it to try and get the reward, wasn't he? He wasn't doing it for doing the right thing, which is a theme that we've talked about many times this week, about doing the right thing, doing the right and proper thing all of the time. So I hope you enjoyed the assembly this morning. Good luck with your learning tasks for the rest of the day. Make sure that you're sending them to your teacher, and perhaps you'll get a text home to say, "Well done, you're working extremely hard." So as we always say, we finish with our school prayer, and we can pray in whichever way we wish, but we'll all say it together. In thy tree. This is our school. Let peace dwell here. Let the rooms be full of contentment. Let love abide here. Love for one another and love for life itself. Let our school be a lovely place where all of us are caring to each other, to work our best and show our smiling face, staff and children helping one another today and always. Have a lovely day, and hopefully we shall see you soon. And as we always say, over and out.